Hello and welcome to the course on Indian polity. Today we begin our discussion on one of the most foundational themes of the Indian Constitution, the idea of the union and its territory. Every nation is defined not only by the people who live in, but also the boundaries that shapes its identity. India's framework understood that the political map of our country would not remain static, and therefore they created a flexible yet strong constitutional framework to organize, expand, or redefine the territory of the Union. This part of the constitution explains how India is structured as a union of states, how new states can be formed, how existing state can be altered, and how territories may be acquired or integrated over time. It laid down the principle that ensure India remains one unified nation while still allowing space for administrative, cultural, and political reorganization whenever needed. So, this is what we are going to discuss, and this is what the today's topic of discussion is. So long we have been discussing the constitution background and the features and all that, but today is the day when we are going to start with Article 1 of the Indian Constitution. But before that, let me give you a quick recap of what we have done in the previous video. In the previous video, we have talked about the landmark judgment, which is known as the Keshwananda Bharati judgment, and we have seen that the present status that the constitutional amendment under Article 368 could modify the fundamental right or any other part of the Indian Constitution, provided it does not disturb the basic structure doctrine given by the Keshwananda Bharati judgment. So, moving forward, let us start discussion on the part 1 of the Indian Constitution, that is the Union and its territory, and we will begin with Article 1. So, Article 1 of the Indian Constitution states India, that is Bharat, shall be the union of states. So, the Article 1 describes two things. First, the name of our nation, India and Bharat. Okay, and the second part says that it shall be the union of the state. And how are we going to read this? This is Article 1, subclause 1. Article 1, subclause 1. So in Article 1, there are three subclauses, and Article 1, subclause 1 state that India, that is Bharat, shall be the union of state. Now, the 2 points are very important that we should understand over here. One, that India, the other name of India is Bharat, and what type of nation it is? It is the Union of States. Now, see, few videos back, few lectures back, we have studied that the Constitution is federal in structure. The Constitution is federal in structure with unitary base, and wherein federal we have studied that there are two independent government. One is at the central level or the union level, another is at the state level. And we have understood that at the state level, though the government is independent to make laws, but some at some point it has some responsibility towards the union. We have a governor been appointed by the center to take care the administration of the state is being carried on in the as per the provision laid down in the constitution. And as soon as the state deviate from what is defined in the constitution, the authority passes to the hand of the union, that we will see in the coming part of this lectures. So India, in the constitution we have seen that the constitution nature is federal, but India is a union of state and not federation of state. So what does exactly these two terms mean? That is the federation state, federation of states, and what does union of states mean? Let us understand what these two terms means. Although our constitution is federal in structure, but still we prefer that India will be a union of state and not federation of state. Why? See, in United States of America, what is actually the federation of state. And then when you understand this, that what is the federation of state, you will automatically be able to answer why India is not a federation of state and is a union of state. For example, in Western or in USA, or for example, in say in any country X, we have 4 or 5 states. 4 or 5 states. These all states are independent and they have their own constitution and they have their rules to define citizenship. For example, if people A, suppose a man A is born in this state, this particular state, he is the citizen of that state. So each state is independent not only to make laws but also to administer the people in it. That is, they will give the citizenship to the people. So if any man B born in this state will be the citizen of this state. So when A travels to state B, he will be easily identified that he is not from the state. Not, let's say this is the B naught state and this is the A naught state. So if a person from A moves to B, then he is easily identified that he does not belong to state B but belong to state A because he holds the identity, he holds the document, and which is the citizenship of that state. Later, all this state, let's say suppose I name this state as A naught, B naught, C naught, D naught, E naught, and F naught. All these state decided to come together on certain subjects. They said that okay, instead of having independent administration, let us come together and make an agreement that we will be in federation. They decided, they out of their own will, all the state decided to come into a federation. That means they come together, they decided that this will be the subjects on which there would be uniformity so that any person from A go to B, he does not face his problems. So when the state on its own willingness, which are independent, but in order to sort some problem, they out of their own will come together through an agreement to form a federation. Then that is called as the Federation of State. And therefore, in United States of America, USA, is the Federation of States. Therefore, we have the United States of America. The different states come together out of their free will. They decided to have a federation, that is a unity among all the states, that is the federation. But tomorrow if they do not want, they are free to move out of the federation. As for example, we have different countries forming the group such as the G7, the BIMSTEC. So accordingly, tomorrow if a country do not want to be a part of a particular group, he may that country may easily come out of that group. So that is called the federation. So when we say that a country is a federation of states, that means the states are out of their free will in the federation and tomorrow they can move out of the federation as well. So what does the union of state means? The union of states means that number one, the states are not of choice to move away from the Union of India. That means tomorrow, for example, India is the union of state. Then tomorrow, no state, for example, let's say Bihar. Bihar cannot say that I want to be separate from India and I do not want to be in the Union of India. Why? Because the constitution itself mentioned they do not have an agreement. The constitution itself declare that India is the union of state and there is no agreement between the states to stay together to form a union. But the constitution itself made the state what? A union of states. So when we say that the India is a union of state, there are 2 3 points that we need to understand. First, India Federation was not formed by the agreement of states. That is, in India, independent state did not come together, they did not sign an agreement that and they did not voluntarily create a federation. They, from the day of enforcement of the constitution, they by default, by the authority of the constitution, came into the Union of India. Then point number two, states do not have right to secede. Let me write over here. Point number two, the state have no right to secede. Secede. What does this mean? That tomorrow no state will assert their autonomy and say that I no longer be responsible to India, and not none of the law that is passed by the union government will be applicable to me, or something that exerts autonomy or independency from the state union of state. That is, no states have a right to secede. That, and this particular point, that no state has the right to secede, what ensures? It ensures that the unity and integrity of India is permanent and indestructible. The unity and integrity of India is permanent. Yes or no? If you do not have right to secede, that means you are permanently integrated in India. But there is the authority to parliament. What does the parliament has the authority? They can reorganize. They can reorganize the state. But the parliament has the authority to reorganize the state. And that is a very good thing. Suppose tomorrow, if any administrative reason or any other reason, a state want its boundary to be reorganized, it want its territory to be reorganized, that could be possible. Otherwise, if you make it very rigid, then there are high chances that the state would demand a separation. But if there are flexibility, and that is the beauty of the Indian constitution, that everywhere it has given the scope of some flexible decision that could be made. And here also, in this part, that is the union and its territory, the parliament has given the authority to reorganize the state. That is the point number two. Point number three is, we have a strong center in the model, in the middle. In the middle or in the center, we have a strong center. What does this strong center mean? Yes, states are free to make their own laws. They are free to administrate according to their will. But any particular instant of time, if an authority, a representative from the center, which is known as the governor, feels that the administration is not being done in accordance to the provision laid down in the constitution, the strong is center enough. The center is strong enough to take the control of the state under its authority and can administer the state, and that's what is called as the precedent rule that we will discuss in the coming lectures. So from the first article, that is the article 1 clause sub clause 1, we have understood two things. First, the name of the country is India, and also it is called as the Bharat, and this name was suggested of course by the members of the Constituent Assembly. And second, India is the union of state and not the federation of state. And I hope now you have clear why India is the union of state and not the federation of state. By the union of state, we meant two things, that in India, the states are not together by means of any agreement or by means of their will, but they do not have any choice, but they are together by the authority of the constitution. And second, they do not have right to secede or move away from the union of the India. So in terms of Dr. Bhimrao Ambedkar, he said that the Indian union is indestructible. Let me write. The Indian Union, Dr. Bhimrao Ambedkar said, and please note it down, the Indian Union is indestructible. Means the integrity is so strong that it could not be destructed, indestructible. The union is indestructible, but the states are not. But the states are not. States are not means it is not that tomorrow this particular area is state A, it will always remain forever. The union has the power, the parliament has the power to bifurcate this particular area into two parts and rename that state A and state B. So the states are destructible, but the union as a whole is indestructible. For example, all the states that are a part of the India, maybe, for example, let's suppose say earlier we had 29 states, but now we have 28 states. But in reorganizing from 29 state to 28 states, did India lose any territory? No, it does not lose any territory. It does not lost any territory. The only thing that happened that they restructured Jammu and Kashmir and converted that into UT. So the state Jammu and Kashmir was destructed and converted to UT. But the territory as a whole did not, India did not lose that. So the states are destructible. They before sometime in history in the past we had like say suppose 22 states. Then sometime in the past we have say 26 states. In recent past we have 29 states. Now we have 28 states. These all examples suggest that the union is indestructible. That means the territory that the union as a whole has, that is indestructible, but the states are not. And though the country, continue writing, though the country and the people, though the country and the people may be divided into different states, the country is one integral whole. The country is one integral whole. I think this point is clear and no further explanation should be required. That this people, the people may belong to any particular state. They may be divided in between in different states. The people from Jammu and Kashmir, the people from Maharashtra, from Bihar, but as a whole they are Indian. They represent themselves as Indian when they go abroad. They do not say that I belong from this particular state of India. They say that we are Indian. They hold a single identity passport, that is the Indian passport. I hope that is clear. Let us move forward, and just what I have explained I've given you as as form of a note so that you can easily copy it down from here as well. The country is described as union. Although its constitution is federal in structure, according to Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, the phrase union of the state has been preferred to the federation of state for two reasons. One, the Indian Federation is not the result of an agreement among the states like the American Federation, and two, the states have no right to secede from the federation. The federation is a union because it is indestructible. The country is an integral whole and divided into different states for the convenience of administration. I hope the Article 1, Subclause 1 is clear. Now let us move to Article 2, Subclause 2. The Article 2, Article 1, Subclause 2 state that the states and the union territories, state and the territories thereof shall be specified in the first schedule. We have seen there are 12 schedule of the Indian Constitution. The first schedule describes what are the states and the territories of the nation of India. If you go to the constitution, if you have downloaded the PDF part of the constitution, go open it and just pause this video and see what are they mentioned in the schedules. First schedule of the Indian constitution. You'll see how do the people of Tamil Nadu, how do the people of Telangana knows that this is the boundary. They know because the boundary is defined in the act and the act is mentioned in the first schedule. The name of the state and the territories, that is its entire expand, that is north, south, east, west, what would be the border, east side. Every detail has been mentioned in the law that has been passed, and that law detail section wise is mentioned in the first schedule of the Indian Constitution. So we have seen what does the different schedule holds, and the first schedule hold what the states and the territory, the name of the all the states and the territories of all the states, their boundaries is mentioned and specified in first schedule. In article number 1, clause subclause 3, it defines the territory of India in three parts. Whatever territory of India we have can be categorized into three parts. What are those three parts? The first part is the territories of the state. There should be no doubt on it. And altogether, how many states we have? 28 states. Say Bihar, Assam, Sikkim, Manipur, Mizoram, the eastern state. Then we have the Uttar Pradesh, Jharkhand. Altogether, there are 28 states. So suppose these are the, let's suppose say, these are the territories of the India. These are the territory of India. All the entire Indian territory. All this Indian territory. And apart from this, we have Andaman Nicobar Island, and we have the Daman and Diu and all that. The islands, also the territory of India that is being controlled by the India. All this territory, based on the ease of administration, is categorized into three categories. All this territory are categorized into three categories. The first categories is the states, and states, we all know the states has the separate the independent administration. Then we have the union territories like Delhi, Chandigarh, Puducherry, Daman, Diu, Andaman, Nicobar, etc. And union territories are those territories which are directly under the control of the union. That is, the center controls it directly. But the states are being governed by the by the chief minister, and the union territories are directly administered by the president or any representative appointed by him. We will see the details of all this thing when we go further. But first understand that Article 1 subclause 3 categorizes the territory of India into three parts. One is the territory of the state, another is the union territory, and third one is the any other territory that India may acquire. So any other territory that India may acquire from time to time, and on such terms and conditions that India's think fit, that the parliament may think fit. For example, tomorrow India is going to acquire any territory. So in India, we have states, okay, we have the union territory, okay. But tomorrow, suppose India occupied any island or any other territory, okay, how it can acquire? It may win this territory in war, or it may get this territory as a gift, as in the past, India has given so many territory as a gift. So it may get back those territory. So whatever way that the India may acquire this territory, that territory will be also will be the part of the India. So the territory of the India will be three part. Currently, the two part is very clear to us: the territory of the state and the union territory. And third, for the future, it is said that any other territory that India may acquire, it just has to mention that territory detail in the Schedule 1, and that territory will become the part of the Indian territory. So how India may acquire all this territory? It may acquire either by conquest or by in gift or by subjugation, by anything. In the past, we have seen that India has acquired several foreign territories like Dadra and Nagar Haveli, Goa, Daman and Diu, Puducherry, and Sikkim since the commencement of the constitution, and the acquisition of this territory will be discussed later in the chapter. So this is the example of territories that India has acquired, and that is the and has added it. Like, for example, let me discuss the case of the Sikkim so that it would become easier for you to understand. See, Sikkim was under the rule of Chogyal ruler, and this ruler was a monarch. That is, whenever a state or particular territory is ruled by the king, we said that there is monarchical administration. So under the rule of Chogyal, India in 1950, India became independence on 1947. Indian Constitution 1950 में लागू हो जाता है. So 1950 में there is a treaty signed with Sikkim, and that is known as the Indo-Sikkim Treaty. Indo-Sikkim Treaty. You will see how Article 1 Clause 3 beautifully applies to this particular circumstances. So in Indo-Sikkim Treaty that was signed in 1950, India did not say that the Chogyal monarchy will end. It only said that let Sikkim be the protectorate state of India. Protectorate Protectorate state of India. What does this mean? This means that Sikkim will be under the administration of the king. Only the three subjects that is required to provide protection to the Sikkim, that is the defense, external affair, and communication, will be handled by the Indian government. Rest, the king is free to rule its territory, and that is the territory of the Sikkim. So Article 1 subclause 3 says that the territory of the India will be union territory, states, and the third part says any other territory that India may acquire on such terms and conditions that it's think fit. Such term and condition. Such terms and condition. Whatever terms and condition there could be, there is no limitation on that. If India think that this terms and condition are suitable, it may acquire the territory in that terms and condition. So Sikkim become the protectorate state first, and this is as per Article 1, subclause 3, and then this become the part of the Indian territory. Although it was not the full state, neither the full UT, but it was a protectorate state, and this was the terms and conditions signed in the Indo-Sikkim Treaty. But according to that treaty also, and Article 1 subclause 3, the beauty of this article made Sikkim the part of the Indian territory, but the administration was done by the king. Later, in the year 1973, the people become fed up with the monarchical rule. They said that they wanted democracy, they wanted complete integration with India, and there was a political crisis in Sikkim in 1973. And then the Sikkim become in 1974, after the crisis was handled, since the protection of the Sikkim was under the Indian administration, somehow the Indian administration solved the political crisis, and in 1974 it integrated much more subjects of the Sikkim under it as an associate state. 1974, Sikkim become an associate state of India. Now you see Article 1 subclause 3 part C says that any terms and condition you think you can acquire the territory. Sikkim first was the protectorate state. That condition was also valid. And then 1974, it changes the status to become associate state and remains the territory of the India. Sikkim was still the territory of India. But later also in 1975, the people were so much furious. They wanted the complete integration, and referendum was carried out, and surprisingly, not surprisingly, 97% of the people, because it was long demand, pending for long from 1973, since the political crisis happens, 97% of the people voted that they want a complete integration with India. And in 1975, the full statehood was given. Now full statehood was given, that means it was acquired, the territory become the state. So, see, Sikkim was first become the protectorate state, and that is under Article 1, subclause 3, part C, then become the associate state, and finally it became the territory of the state. You see how flexible these articles have been written? Now you understand why Dr. Bhimrao Ambedkar have been called. So, a person long back in 1950 made the constitution so flexible that you can beautifully apply it and can get your work done. Now, when the Sikkim in 1975, by the 36th Constitutional Amendment Act 1975, Sikkim became the 22nd state of India. So this was the story of India and how Article 1 subclause 3 applies to this particular scenario. How the government of India utilizes this article to make such. Also, there was other example, we have seen Goa, Daman and Diu, Puducherry, but this example is sufficient for you to quote in examination if there is a subjective question on this. Moving forward, let us move to Article 2, which says that admission or establishment of new states. Admission or establishment of new state. Now, Article 2 talks about the admission or establishment of new state. Which new states? The states or the territory which is not the part of India, which is not the part of Indian territory. That is, which is not mentioned in Schedule 1, because if it is an Indian territory, it would be mentioned in the first schedule of Indian territory. Okay, so if a foreign territory, you acquire a foreign territory, so you can admit that into the territory of the India or the Union of India. So Parliament has the power. Who has the power? The Parliament has the power to admit the new states into the Union of India and to establish the new state. Both, they can either admit the new state or establish the new state. So this is under Article 2. Example, Sikkim was admitted as a state 1972 under Article 2. We have seen that first it was the protectorate state, then it became the associate state, and finally it was admitted as a new state. It was given the full statehood. So that it was done by the parliament under Article 2. Now, moving to Article 3, which says that the formation of new states and alteration of the existing state. Now, what is the difference between Article 2 and Article 3? See, Article 2 talks about those territory which is not the state, which is not the state of the India before, but has been admitted newly in the Indian territory as a state. But Article 3 talks about those states which are formed by the existing state. Now, you see, if there is already a state, let's say, suppose this is a state A, and let's suppose there is a state B. So, if these two states are already in existence and they are mentioned in the first schedule, then how you are going to make the new state? Obviously, there are multiple options. You can take out some area of A and say that this would be a new state, say suppose a naught, and this the remaining area would be the state A. That is one possible scenario. Another possible scenario is you can merge to some area of this state, say suppose this much area, and this is its neighboring state, say suppose B. You take some portion of B and you say that the people of these the border area are have so much in common, so let us make them a separate state. So the two state could now be combined into to become a three state. So these are the possible scenarios in which existing state can be converted into the new state. Okay. So under this, also who has the power to do that? The parliament has the power to do that. I hope you understand the difference between the Article 2 and Article 3. Article 2 talks about the state which is not a part of the Indian states, not a part of the territories of the state. And Article 3 talks about the alteration of the existing state to form the new state. If you go in detail of this, then we see that the parliament may by law form a new state. How it may form the new state? By separating territory from any state, by uniting two or more states, by uniting part of a state, and by uniting part of different state. We have seen. Also, it can alter the area of any state. Definitely, if it is going to do any of these changes, the area may change. Also, the boundary may change. So, alter the boundaries of any state as well. These are the consequences of any one of the cases. If you do these cases, automatically the area will change. The alteration in the boundary will be done. Also, the last part say that they alter the name of the state. Suppose today this is a state A. I rename the state to make it a new state. I say that will be now called as A1. So the state, a new state has been born up. That is the A1. The older state has now been is gone away. There is no more existence of A. But now I have changed the name of the state. The area remains the same. The boundary remains the same. But the name has been changed. So the new state has come up and its name is now given as A1. So that can be done. But who has the authority to do that? The parliament has the authority to do that. And we have seen in the recent, there are multiple examples. We have seen creation of Telangana in 2014 from Andhra Pradesh. Then we have seen Odisha being renamed as Odisha. First it was ORISSA, then it was converted to Odisha 2011. Then we have seen recently the Jammu and Kashmir division into two UTs, Ladakh and JK, that is in 2019. And obviously the bifurcation of Bihar to become Bihar and Jharkhand. I hope these examples covered all the above scenarios. Now, let us give a deep thought to Article 2 and Article 3 and let us understand what could be the confusion in Article 2 and Article 3. So now it is visible, the portion which was hidden. So suppose let us assume a scenario in which say some part, let's say suppose this is the boundary of India, let's suppose, and here are some territory which is not the state, and suppose these are also territories. The thing is happening, the situation is like this, that the country, this is suppose India, and let's say this is let's say suppose this is Bangladesh for simplicity. This is a hypothetical condition. You just understand what I mean to say and what could be the possible scenario. Now, suppose all these people over here are speaking Bangladesh and all these people are Indians. So now India and Bangladesh said that these are the people who oftenly, these are the people who are mostly speaking Bangla, and they are oftenly crossing this border to meet their people, to meet their relatives. And similarly, for the Indian part, these are the Indians who go this side. So, if tomorrow they decided to exchange their territory, so the first scenario would be that this territory would be given to India. So India is acquiring new territory. Yes, that is possible, and that is possible under One, Article 1 subclause, Article 1 subclause 3. We have seen that the territories can be any territory, any other territory except other than the union territory or the state. And by Article subclause 2, Article 1 subclause 3 and Article 1 and Article 2, where the parliament has the power to establish new states, that could be done. But what if India, this is the already the existing territory of the India. Now, India want to give this territory, the authority of this territory to the Bangladesh. So if that is the case, and these territories are not the state, these are not the state, but just the territory of India. So if it is the state, definitely it cannot secede away from the union territory. So that would not be the scenario because India is the union of states where a state does not have any authority to secede away from the India. So these are the territory, not the state, that not the territory of the state, but simple a territory, which is the Indian territory. Now, if India under Article 2 or Article 3 passes a law and handed over to this, so whether that should be permitted, because Article 3 only talks about the formation of new states or alteration of the existing state, and even what types of alteration it talks about. It talks about increasing or decreasing the area of the state, increasing, altering the boundary of the state. So by decreasing the area of the Indian territory, whether India utilizing Article 3, India says that India has under Article 3, India has the parliament has the authority to, it can alter the boundary or alter the area. So suppose I want to remove this area and hand it over to Bangladesh, I can do that because it talks about alteration of the boundary or the area of the state. So under Article 3, I can do that because if I interpret the Article 3 in that way that I can alter the state, alteration means I can either increase it or decrease it. So if this is a state, let's say this is a state, and I take away this part, I detach this much area and form this a new state. That can I do in article under Article 3. So the alteration of the area is happening and area is decreasing. The original area, for example, when Bihar gets divided into Bihar and Jharkhand, the area of Bihar is altered, it decreases. So if I interpret Article 3 in that way, so can I give this particular territory to Bangladesh and I say that the alteration of area is taking place, it is getting decreased, so that should be allowed as per my convenience. I am interpreting the article, but who is the main and the final interpreter of the constitution and the articles within it? The final interpreter of the constitution is obviously the Supreme Court, and this was the same incident that took place with respect to the Beribari Union. So the case is famously known as the Beribari Union case, and Beribari was nothing but it was the territory in West Bengal, and when the Radcliffe Award, where Radcliffe Award means when the boundary between India and Pakistan was decided, this territory was ambiguous. So Beriberi Union was a small territory in West Bengal, which was located near the East Pakistan, which is now as Bangladesh border. And after independence, the Radcliffe Award 1947 create confusion about whether the Beriberi belongs to India or East Pakistan. There was no clear demarcation of the boundary across these territories that is called as the Beriberi Union. So this territory dispute required clarification. Then what did the government do? The then government of Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru signed an agreement with the Pakistani government, and the agreement is famously known as the Nehru Noon Agreement of 1958, and they divided the Beriberi between the two countries. Some portion given to Bangladesh, East Pakistan, and some portion was given to India. So now the question arises whether the territory which are in the Indian side can be given to see the foreign countries or any other nations by just mere signing an agreement. If that is allowed, think of a possible scenario that tomorrow, as of my wish, if today, tomorrow is my government, and I decide to give Goa to someone else, to can I do that? I just sign an agreement and give over the territory of the Goa to someone else. Would that be not an hazard thing to do that? Would that thing would not be like something very dangerous that if such things are allowed? So that was the question at that time, and Supreme came in between, and he said that what was the interpretation of Article 3? He said that Article 3 does not allow transfer of Indian territory to the foreign country. You can take territory from the foreign country. That can be done under Article 2, but Article 3, utilizing Article 3, where we talk about alteration of the boundary, you cannot transfer the Indian territories to a foreign country. So Article 3 allows formation of state, alteration of boundaries within India, and renaming of the state and other things, but that is allowed within the territory of India, within the boundary of India. You cannot do that with some external or with some foreign nationals. Okay, so giving territory to another country requires a constitutional amendment. Article 368 need to be brought in. So parliament legislation alone is not enough. So I think Article 3 confusion is clear, and this is what the court has to say, that Article 3 does not allow transfer of Indian territory to the foreign country. For that, what you need to do, you need to have the amendment of the constitution to do that. Now, moving forward to article number 4, wherein we are talking about that any laws made under article 2 and 3, obviously parliament are making laws, so any laws made under article 2 and 3 are not constitutional amendment. Why? Because from time and time there would be large number of alteration would be taken place from time to time. For example, we have seen that if any new state is being made, it has to be put under first schedule. It has to be put under first schedule. And for that, first schedule is the part of the constitution. So if you want to add anything or modify it, that would be considered as the amendment of the constitution, because you are adding anything in the first schedule, and first schedule is the part of the constitution, so that would be considered as the amendment of the constitution. But fortunately, article 4 clearly mentions that any law made under article 2 and 3 for which any amendment has to be done in the constitution are not constitutional amendments. Clear? So tomorrow, if you make a new law that you rename this state, and that for that you have to make an amendment in Schedule 1 of the Constitution, that will not be considered as the constitutional amendment. That is, you do not have to go for the special majority or for the ratification of 50% of the state and all that thing, but simply you pass a law and that will be considered as final law, and you simply add that thing to the Schedule 1 and that will be done. Okay, so now let us understand how the parliament passes the law with under article 2 and article 3. So under article 2 and 3, first of all, suppose the tomorrow any state name has to be changed. So first of all, a bill proposal to make any law is known as the bill. Proposal for any law is known as bill. ठीक है? Now suppose cabinet cabinet form of a government is a part of a parliamentary structure of the Indian constitution. So cabinet, who is the cabinet? The ministers, let's suppose understand it like this way. The minister first discuss that this is the requirement, and they prepare a bill. They prepare a proposal to put in front of the parliament. So the cabinet will prepare a bill, and before it laid down to the parliament for voting, for approval, for passing by majority, whatever majority it may require, it will require the assent of the president. Prior permission, what we call as the prior permission. The cabinet prepare the bill and approve it. Let us write like that. The cabinet approves it, approves the bill. Okay, this is the bill we have seen. Let us go to the president and ask whether we can bring this bill or not. Go to the president. Now the president sees that this bill particularly talks about the renaming of the name of Jharkhand or say Bihar. So it will send the bill to Jharkhand, sent to concerned state. Now, tell me one point. After a so long discussion where we talk about that the state are destructible, but the union is not destructible, it is indestructible. So, whether the president will be bounded by the decision of the or recommendation of the state. Let's say, suppose the president send the bill to Jharkhand, and the parliament or the state legislative assembly of the Jharkhand says that we do not want to rename that state. Okay, so whether president will be bounded? No, because the president will be bounded by the decision given by the state assembly of the Jharkhand. That means the state is making a decision. It would be indestructible. It does not want to any changes in it. So simply president send the bill to the concerned state and does not is not binding that whatever recommendation or suggestion you give, I may accept, I may not accept. Also, if you do not give any recommendation, I am free to go ahead without your consent as well. But since this issue, this bill is concerning to your state, I am just sending it for your information and for your in a recommendation if you want. So in 2004, we had an example in the past. In 2004, for the proposal for the for the formation of the state of Telangana, it was rejected by the Andhra Pradesh Assembly. They did not accepted it, rejected by Andhra Pradesh Assembly. But still, this state was formed. We have a new state called Telangana. So understand that president is not bounded by it. If they say yes, okay. If they say no, also okay. Yes or no does not matter to president. Only the president should agree. Yes, okay. Now the president is agree. Yes, you can go ahead with this bill. Now the bill is introduced. Bill is presented in either of the house. You may introduce the bill in Lok Sabha or in Rajya Sabha. Anywhere. You can table the bill in the parliament, either of the house, and then what majority you required? You required simple majority. 50% of the people present and voting. Simple majority, and then president will sign. President sign, it will become law, and then it will be notified in the government gazette. This is the process which is followed under Article 2 and 3. First of all, the cabinet approves the bill given to the president. The president sends the bill to the concerned state, but it is not bounded by the recommendation or proposal of the state. The president say yes. Okay, after the proposal, the consent from the president, the bill is presented in either Lok Sabha or Rajya Sabha, and it's passed by the simple majority. Then president signs it and then notified in the government gazette, and then that reorganization act or whatever you want to do, alteration in the boundary, whatever you have proposed in the act, will become applicable. So this is what Article 2 and 3 is utilized, and I hope the Article 1, Article 2, Article 3, Article 4 that forms the part 1 of the Indian Constitution is now clear to you. Now let us move to other issues in this part. So we have understood that the Constitution was enforced on 26 January 1950 and fully enforced on 26. It was enacted on 26 November 1949 itself, but completely enforced on 26 January 1950. So in the year 1950, what was the status of the Indian territories? Indian territory was categorized into four states. State A comprises the category A comprises of governor. Please make a note of this governors provinces. A question may come where you have to explain the entire restructuring of the Indian territory right from 1950, or if you make a chart, this could be like very beneficial for you to fetch marks. So the category A comprises of the governor provinces and of British India, and it was total nine governor provinces were there. In category B, again we have the princely state. We had the princely states with legislature, and it was nine in number. Then in category C, we had the chief commissioner provinces. Chief chief commissioner provinces of British India and other princely state. And there were total 10 in number. And category D was comprises of only one territory known as the Andaman and Nicobar. So this was what the status of Indian territory is on 26th January 1950 when the constitution was enforced. The entire territory was categorized into four separate categories. The entire territory was categorized into four categories, and these were the detail. Governor provinces of British India, princely state with legislature, chief commissioner provinces of British India and the other princely state, and Andaman and Nicobar Island. Now, the states were categorized into such categorization, but you see, with the independence of India, there was huge issues that the Indian government was facing. And the one major issue that we have talked about was the land reforms, for which the Schedule 9 was introduced. The another was the raising demand of the people for bifurcation of the state or formation of the state, or we say reorganizing of the state based on the language. And this was very vital issue. So the demand for the reorganization of the state on linguistic basics, like it was on the topmost priority. You see, language was like you say one of the major reason for the bifurcation of or the proposal of the division of Bengal in 1905 during the tenure of Lord Curzon. So it's make people feel connected. If you speak similar language, you feel some belongingness, some bondedness, some bonding with those people who speak same language. But this was the source of nationalism, of course, no doubt. But after India became independence, after India got independence, it became free. This nationalism was like before independence. This nationalism was a source of like motivation for strengthening the India demand for a free nation. But suppose after independence, if people still make this the basis and demand the separate state or a separate nation, that would be destructive. So there was a huge demand for reorganization of the state based on the language, but this demand was like very difficult to fulfill by the Indian government. And we have seen that there were several committees that were set up by the Indian government to look into the feasibility of reorganizing the state into different language. And what the Indian government feared at that time is now visible. You see, people have been beaten up in different states for not speaking the language of their state. We have seen Biharis been beaten up in Maharashtra. The people in the south or south part of the country are beating up for the people who are migrated or who are being living in the south part and they belong from the north. So these were the problems that the then government has forecasted and had a vision of. So to pacify the demand of the people, the first committee that was set up to see the feasibility of whether the state could be organized on the basis of the language was SK Commi- Dhar Commission or Dhar Committee. Dhar Commission was set up, and its chairman was S.K. Dhar, and it was set up in June 1948. And purpose was to just see if we can reorganize the state basis on the language. So the Dhar Commission says that no, the language could never be the basis for reorganization of the state. In fact, if the people speaking different languages live together, they will better understand their culture, they will better understand their tradition, and heterogeneity will bring in the homogeneity. Because the people from different background, if they live together, they share their custom and tradition, that will strengthen the unity and integrity of our country. So Dhar Commission rejected the demand of the people to reorganize the state, and after the rejection, the demand from the people rises to the higher level. And then soon, it after its submission of the report by Dhar Commission in 1948 itself, in the month of December, the people, when found out that the commission did not recommended for the reorganization of the state on the basis of the language, they got infuriated. And then soon after the commission report was submitted, the government formed another committee, which is known as the JVP committee, in the same year 1948, and gave them the same task to find out whether we have any possibility or any feasibility of reorganizing the state on the basis of the language. The JVP committee were comprises of J for Jawaharlal Nehru. From we have Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel. His name was Vallabhbhai Patel only. Sardar was the title given to him by Mahatma Gandhi. And why did he give him the title? Because he was a successful leader for the Bardoli Satyagraha, Vallabhbhai Patel. And P for Pita B, Pita B Sitaramaya. Okay, they were the members of the JVB committee. In 1948 itself, the committee was formed, which submitted the report in 1949, 1 year, let's suppose 4 months after, in April. And surprisingly, the committee was formed under so much tremendous pressure, but the committee still recommended that no, the state on the basis of the language could not be reorganized. So it rejected that language could be one of the basis for the reorganization of the state. Then the continuous demand from the people did not stop, did not halted. The people continuously raised their demand for the separation of the state, for the reorganization of the state on the basis of the language, and the continued struggle got much height in the year 1953, when a man named as Potti Sirira Mulu, he goes to a hunger strike, and after a 50-day hunger strike, 56-day hunger strike, he died. He died for the cause. What was the cause? They wanted the separate state. So in 1953, and when this man died out of hunger strike, which goes continuously for 56 days, now the government came down to its knees, and it accepted the people demand for reorganization of the state on the basis of the language, and first linguistic state was born. The first linguistic state was formed in the year October 1953. The state name was Andhra Pradesh, 1953. The state name was Andhra Pradesh, and it was formed for the Telugu speaking people. Telugu speaking people, those people, like in Madras, they were a particular area where the people mainly speak Telugu, and they demanded that all the area where there are the Telugu speaking people should be separated and given them this separate state. Uh, um, this Andhra Pradesh was formed in October 1953 by separating the Telugu speaking people from the state of Madras. So why do people demand a separate state? Because see, it's a type of a nationalism. Because they wanted that the people who speak Telugu will have the state of their own, where the state of their own means they will have an administration of their own. They can make laws favoriting the people of the particular area. So based on this reason only, the demand for separate state is being made. So you see that now we have Bihar and Jharkhand being the border, being the border state. The law passed by the Jharkhand is specific to the people living in the Jharkhand. The law passed by the Bihar government is specific to the people living in the Bihar. A very good example, you see the ban on the liquor is in Bihar, not in the Jharkhand. So the people who are speaking a particular kind of language, they think that if they have their own state, the demand raises out of the nationalism or out of the belongingness of the people towards one another of a particular area. So they think if their particular area is given a statehood, then they will be the administration or the executive or the legislature will be from among themselves. For example, see, the Jharkhand was made by separating a particular territory, mainly the tribal area, from the Bihar. Why did they want a separate state? Because they thought that in Bihar Legislative Assembly, most of the people will from the Bihar, from the Mathili background or from the Bihar background, not from the tribal background. But if Jharkhand will be given a single statehood, the people in the assembly state will thus, first of all, the state will have its separate assembly, and the people will mainly from the tribal background will sit in the assembly. They will legislate, and then they will legislate for the tribal people mainly, or for whomever the state has been demanded. So the first reorganization, the linguistic state, was born in the October 1953, and we have seen that the Andhra Pradesh was created by separating the Telugu speaking area from Madras. Then in December 1953, now this was if you have given a particular state accepting the demand from the particular group of people, obviously the demand from the other groups of people will also raise high. And so to cater the demand, the another committee in the December 1953, in the same very year, after 2 months, was created, and this committee was known as the Fazle Ali Commission. This committee was known as the Fazle Ali Commission, and Fazle Ali Commission, the members were, you see, there were three members as well, and that was the Fazle Ali, who was the chairman. Then we have the K.M. Panikar, and then we have H.N. Kunzru. They were the three members, and finally in 1955 they submitted the report where they accepted the as the basis of language as the basis of state reorganization. The basis of state reorganization. Also, they said that the state can be reorganized on the basis of the language, but you have to keep in mind this following 4 point. And you should note this 4 point, because if somewhere you have to quote the Fazl Ali Commission, you can easily say that yes, the Fazl Ali Commission was the first commission to accept that the language could be the basis of formation of the state, provided the four conditions should be ensured. First, the unity and security of the country shall be preserved and strengthened. Unity and, please write it down, the unity and security of the country shall be preserved and strengthened. First point. Second point, it said that the cultural homogeneity should be maintained. That is the linguistic, 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 and cultural homogeneity should be maintained. Then note down the third point, financial and financial, economic, and administrative is should be considered. The previous commission that were formed, such as the Dhar Commission or the JVP Commission, they said that the state should be reorganized only on the basis of administrative convenience and financial and economic convenience, not on the basis of the language. The Fazl Commission said that the language should be the basis, but you should ensure that the financial, economic, and administrative convenience is considered. And the last point, which the Fazl Commission recommended, that the welfare of the people in each state, if you are organizing the state, if you are creating if you are creating Andhra Pradesh from Maharashtra, you have to ensure that the welfare of the people in Madras as well as the Andhra Pradesh, both should be promoted. Welfare of the people in each state should be promoted, as well as of the nation as a whole. I hope it is visible. If not visible, let me hide myself. Okay, so these were the 4 points that Fazl Ali Commission recommended. They said yes, you have to ensure that these 4 points should be considered, and then only you can reorganize the state on the basis of language. So their recommendations were taken up, and then the government set up the first state reorganization. Also, what did the Fazl Ali Commission say? The first they said that yes, accepted. Then these 4 points should be considered in mind. Third, they said that the four-fold classification should be abolished. Four-fold classification should be abolished. And lastly, they said that if you are abolishing the four-fold classification, you should reorganize all the state into how many states? 16 states and 3 UTs. In objective, it is asked that first Fazl Ali Commission recommended how many states and UT? 16 states and 3 union territories. Okay, so Fazl Commission, I hope it is clear. Then state in the year 1956, in the year 1956, first state reorganization committee was formed. First state reorganization committee, which is also known as the SRC. The first state reorganization committee was formed in 1956, and then since Fazl Commission recommended how many states? 16 states, but this State Reorganization Commission, which was set up in 1956, suggested how many states? 14 states and 6 union territories. So this was the status after first State Reorganization Commission 1956, that was on 1st of November 1st of November 1956. So we have seen that on the eve of the enforcement of the constitution, there were four folds of our the four categorization of the states, different states, and after that we have seen that various demand of the people, and on 1st November 1956, that is just after the first state reorganization commission, 14 states and 6 UT was formed. But as of now, how many states and UT? We have seen there are 28 states and 8 union territories. So after this 14, from 14 to 28, there are timeline when each state was created or destroyed. So below is the table where you can go through these table once to get an idea of when the each states were formed. Sometimes in the question there is a timeline given that which state is formed first, which state was formed then after, and accordingly, just to have an idea for the state level examination, you may get such types of question. Providing you this table, if you are interested, you can go through the table and remember some point of it. So in the current we have the 28 states which is mentioned over here, and we have 8 union territories. You see there is a small changes in it. Kindly understand that earlier, Dadar and Nagar Haveli and Daman and Diu were separate UT, but now they have combined as one. Jammu and Kashmir has been created as a new UT. Ladakh is a new UT. Sorry, Jammu and Kashmir has been created as a new UT, and Dadar and Nagar Haveli and Daman and Diu has been clubbed together to form a single UT. Therefore, we have 8 union territories and 28 states with their capital. You can go through it. The state, as on 1st November 1946, that is after state reorganization, we see that we have 14 states, and these were the 14th state, and we have 6 union territories, in which Andaman Nicobar, Delhi, Himachal Pradesh later on was given this statehood. Then we have Lakshadweep, Minkoy, and Aminidi Island. Afterward these were named as the Lakshadweep. Then we have Manipur and Tripura. This has now been given as the statehood, and Daman and Diu and other union territories are added. You see, Manipur, Tripura, and Himachal Pradesh, which were union territories on 1st November 1956 after first state reorganization commission, is now given as the statehood. So obviously there were some struggle, some demand from the people, then only they were given the statehood. So here I am giving provided the chronological order of all the state that was created. See, the first after 1956, the first state to form was the Nagaland, which in 1959 became the union territory, and in 1963 became the full state. Then 1966 we have Haryana, Punjab, and Chandigarh. You can just remember it like HPC. Hindustan Petroleum Company. Then 1963, if even if you do not remember the year, you remember the order in which the state was formed. First was the Nagaland, then we have the HPC, then we have the Make My Trip (MMT), Meghalaya, Manipur, and Tripura in 1972. The day you can remember, year you can remember easily, 1972. 1972, the MMT was formed. That is just after the bifurcation of Bangladesh from East Pakistan, the conversion of East Pakistan into Bangladesh. War of India-Pakistan War. You can just remember that after that only MMT was created. So you can eliminate some of the option. So you can remember 1972 MMT. Then we have 1975 already discussed. Sikkim was formed 1975, which was the 22nd state. You see why we call this as the 22nd state. If you count the state after 14, you will find 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. So this is the 22nd state. This way also you can remember. So you remember some of the date or some of the state, other you can from the option you can eliminate. So I've given you the mnemonics, this N for Nagaland, HPC, MMT. Then we have 1975 Sikkim. Then you have the Arunachal Pradesh, Mizoram, and Goa in 86, 87. In 2000, three new states were created that everyone will remember: Chhattisgarh, Uttarakhand, and Jharkhand. 2014, Telangana. 2019, Jammu and Kashmir reorganized into Jammu and Kashmir UT and Ladakh UT. So I hope this was the detail of chronology in the chronological order. And for union territories, you may remember, but not that much important. But from the examination point of view, states that were created after 1956, the order is important. And I hope with this NHPC MMT, you will be able to solve most of the question. Remembering 1975 Sikkim, 2000 Chhattisgarh, Uttarakhand, and Jharkhand. And in the order you must write CUJ, calling user Jharkhand, CUJ, that is Chhattisgarh, Uttarakhand, and Jharkhand, 14 Telangana, and 19 this recent changes everybody is aware of. Okay, so I hope this is all with respect to the first part of the Indian Constitution, that is the Union and its territories. I tried my level best to explain every single point in this part of the Indian Constitution. I hope you have enjoyed this video, and thank you very much for having patience and being listening to me all this duration. We will meet in the next lecture, wherein we are going to talk about the citizenship, that is part two of the Indian Constitution. Thank you. Have a nice day.